Donald Trump has lost and revived a matter full of mystery, the recent disappearance of the American president, which might not be a coincidence at all. And in fact, as far as we know, there still aren't any clear images showing that he has actually reappeared in the public scene. Here I ask you, please, for this report to be informative and collaborative, because I'm recording it at a specific moment and I can't update it in real time. But you can. So as new information comes out, please, if you see that this is outdated, leave a comment with the latest updates about this matter. There's a lot to talk about. Since this Tuesday, the American president hasn't appeared in front of the cameras. And considering how much he likes it, he used to constantly make all kinds of statements, even some that contradicted each other. However, suddenly almost an entire week went by without a single word, not even a single photo. So of course social media started to fill up with all kinds of rumors, mysteries, conspiracy theories and assumptions. And this, moreover, was fueled and built up just a few days ago. All of this about the disappearance of the United States president by the Vice President of the United States, James David Vance, who was giving an interview. And well, as usual, he spoke wonders about Donald Trump, about how much he had learned from him in those 200 days they've been in office together. I've learned so much. He said that in the event he had to replace Donald Trump, God forbid. But tragedies can indeed happen. I would be absolutely willing, and I would even say prepared for such an occasion. Once Donald Trump stopped appearing on the scene, this actually strengthened this mysterious conspiratorial narrative that something had been going on. It could be the case here. I would love to hear your opinion. Of course, it could be a message, perhaps to those who might wish for the definitive disappearance, let's call it that, of Donald Trump, or who might even be planning something about it. Because, well, James David Vance is known for his much tougher stance. Is Donald Trump involved in many matters? I mean, watch out, be careful, don't do anything to Donald, because after that I'll come and things will get even worse for you. Anyway, here we also have the fact, on one hand, of a series of videos, some materials the White House tried to release, or sources close to it. Let's put it this way, to try to cover up this issue. Videos that turn out to be old. But above all, people started comparing Donald Trump's hands with Queen Elizabeth's hands, because on the latter's hands. At a certain point, I think this was already being hinted at in 2019, they started to appear on her right hand in particular, like some spots, a very dark black spot, similar to the one that has been seen on Donald Trump. It seems that he has been using makeup to cover up the spot in question. However, in one of his fairly recent appearances, he must have forgotten the cream and therefore the spot was visible. Afterwards, Donald Trump disappeared, shortly after. Obviously, this raised doubts about the hopefully good health of the American president. However, his doctor at one point explained that those spots were due to the fact that Donald Trump was and is suffering. Supposedly venous insufficiency, and therefore the tissues, among other things, from taking aspirin, the tissues become much more fragile. So, through those constant handshakes, which is something absolutely intrinsic to the presidential office, so these kinds of bruises form, one of which in fact Donald Trump has on one of his hands. However, what is not clear is whether it is due exclusively to that or if there is some other reason behind it. As for Queen Isabel, at the time it was speculated, and well, it now seems almost confirmed, that she was suffering from a very severe bone marrow cancer. Be that as it may, when it comes to his mental faculties, Donald Trump seems to be quite sane. However, such a long disappearance could not leave the whole world indifferent. And the situation only got worse when sources close to the White House released a video, which, well, just as it usually happens on social media, started to be massively retweeted, where Donald Trump, well, was in an environment that looked like he had gone to play golf. Also, journalists who claim to have spoken with anonymous officials from the White House, of course, confirmed that indeed Donald Trump had gone to play golf. However, the videos turned out to be much older than today's date, which of course reinforced the questions that already existed, and there were quite a few of them. And now it seems that other photos have come out, supposedly current. Leave a comment. How much has been confirmed or denied? Because in times of artificial intelligence and so much decontextualized and outdated information, you no longer know what's true and what isn't. That's right. It also seems that an interview with Donald Trump has come out. Will we see how far this goes? Recently, in which he also talks about the Ukrainian conflict. He says that in the end, there will be a meeting between Putin and Zelensky, of course, with him as the mediator, whatever happens. We are going to be very attentive to this matter because the disappearance, especially if it were permanent, of a United States president or any president, is a big deal. I couldn't tell you if it would complicate or make things easier on the international stage, but without a doubt, it would bring very serious and important consequences. But in the case that this disappearance wasn't real, but rather a snowball effect has formed out of nowhere. The question is, who could want this to happen? And even, who could benefit from a smokescreen like this? I would love to read your opinions about this. What do you think really happened? Has Donald Trump had any kind of health issue, for example, or any reason to stay away from the spotlight? Has he needed, for any reason, not just Donald Trump, but also his close circle, to cover up something important, or has it simply been a pure coincidence? Where public opinion itself has created a conspiracy theory when in reality there was absolutely nothing to conspire about.